Cathy, you and I, and Kay and I have heard you talk about this before, but would you kind of tap into, the value of emotional intelligence in terms of leadership and your team?
Sure. Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. So when the concept of emotional intelligence emerged in the mid-90s, the research showed that it wasn't just IQ that predicted outperformance in leadership. It ended up being something different, and it was something that they eventually called emotional intelligence. And the IQ matters. You need to have a certain amount of IQ, but it is in the relationships that you have with other people, the empathy that you have for other perspectives, the awareness of your own emotions and how your own emotions are driving your behavior, and your ability to manage those emotions in a way that's constructive and relationship building, that can have a profound impact on amping up the effectiveness of your leadership. So emotional intelligence is something that I work with my clients on quite a bit. And it continues. It's a gift that keeps on giving. So I'm a strong advocate, and think it's a real game changer for families and non-family leaders.
Love it. Have you read, I just finished reading, and so I keep talking about the books that I read, $1 Trillion Coach.
Not yet.
Well worth the read. I'd highly recommend it. It's Eric Schmidt from Google talking about Bill Campbell, who was a former football coach, turned into, he was the CEO of Intuit at one point. He got dragged out from the East Coast to the West Coast, and just everything about Bill shouldn't have fit. It doesn't fit Silicon Valley. He was a hugger. He was a cusser, but he loved people, and he loved every person, and it was really neat. So he never wanted to do a book, but after he passed, Eric Schmidt and some of the other people that have been his mentees got together and said, the world needs to understand more about this guy. And it's exactly what you're saying. It was all EQ and his ability to have difficult conversations and do the right thing. There's a lot of great, I'm going to reread the book. It was that good to go back and say, really need to focus on what this person is doing. So $1 Trillion Coach by Eric Schmidt. You got to figure if Eric Schmidt is telling you you're writing a book about somebody, it's probably good reading material. So Michael, emotional intelligence and the value in, leadership and within the team.
Critical.
Thoughts?
Critical. And I'll relate it to what's going on for all of us today. Always critical, but I'm seeing it. I'm really seeing the difference in my clients today. Those CEOs, those leaders without emotional intelligence, or it's not black and white, but with lower emotional intelligence, are really having a difficult time relating to their employees through this crisis we're going through, relating to their vendors, relating to their clients through this crisis. And those folks with emotional intelligence are getting through it really well. And I'm going to zero in on one piece one aspect, I guess I'd say, of emotional intelligence, and that's vulnerability. And to talk about books, Pat Lencioni is an author I love. Read anything you can from him. And in his book, The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team, one of them, he talks about vulnerability. And what I see around emotional intelligence these days is leaders have a tendency to think they need to put their superhero cape on and be strong and perfect for everybody else. Working from home is fine. I'm more productive than I've ever been. I'm not letting distractions bother me. I've still got this great vision for the company. We're doing amazing. I'm not worried about health, blah, blah, blah. And then, by the way, by the end of the day, they are so drained from wearing that cape that they then, open up that bottle of scotch, until tomorrow. But the bigger impact is that if we believe we need to be superheroes for our people, which, by the way, doesn't sound so horrible. Of course, we need to be strong for our people. But if we are trying to show that we're perfect for our people, what do you think our people think they need to be for us?
Yeah.
They think they need to be perfect as well. And they're not. None of us are. And in this environment, in this situation we're all going through, it's really important for people to be able to be open and honest about how they're doing and how they're feeling. So as leaders, we need to do something that may be counterintuitive, but shows that emotional intelligence. We need to show our vulnerability. And I'm not saying, take that webcam and shine it on, you huddled crying in a corner, but you need to show that you're not a superhero through all this. You're having some struggles too. And those distractions of your kids or the distractions of your parent that may be going through some health issues, or your challenges or flow or other things. Yeah, you need to be smart about what you share and what you're not going to share. But if we show that vulnerability with our people, our leaders, our employees, they're going to feel comfortable showing that vulnerability right back. And the reason that's critical is, especially as we start looking to slowly getting back to work. I won't say back to normal, because I don't think we ever go back to normal. But as we start slowly getting back to whatever the new normal is going to be, we need our people to be honest about us, be honest with us about where they're having a challenge. And if we're being superheroes and they're not being honest with us, we're going to go back to work and think everything's great. And then things are going to implode, and we're not going to be sure why. So that emotional intelligence, and especially that vulnerability aspect of it, is critical.
Love it. I would throw in that vulnerability builds trust. And you go back to Lencioni's book, it's if you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable, people trust that more. And it's funny that you brought that up, Mike, because I was just asked to speak at, I think it's Tech Rochester. So it's like all the tech startups that are doing things here. And I'm doing a piece called Return on Trust for all these tech people. So I have nothing to do with, technology, and I don't know tech, but I understand trust and vulnerability. So I think that's a really good point. I appreciate that.